Hi, this is Debbie Lacken from Kids Around Dogs, and I have a bit of a problem when it comes to Father's Day. My problem is that my own father lives in Italy, and Gary, who is my husband and Molly's dad, lives in England, where we live. So when Father's Day comes, in Italy, they celebrate it on the 19th of March. In England, we celebrate it mid-June. I think maybe it's the third Sunday of June, something like that. So every year, I remember Gary's because, well, he's here and he's everywhere and he's advertised and all that. But I do struggle to remember my own father's. I know, it's not very good. I should really know better. But yeah, so my problem is that I wish they were on the same day, so I didn't have to remember two things, two dates. One is hard enough. Anyway, this year, I thought I'd celebrate my own dad on the English Father's Day date. Because, Molly will sort Gary out. Well, I'll help her and everything. And obviously, Winnie and Mario will also prepare something for Gary and we'll celebrate him. He'll have his special day. But back in March, I honestly cannot remember whether I did wish my dad a happy Father's Day. I think I did, because probably my mom texted me to remind me, but there you go. So this video is especially for my dad, for Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Papa, because obviously he's Italian. This video is not just really for my dad when I think about it. This is for his generation and many generations after his. Because my dad, like many people out there, was and still is possibly a big Beatles fan. And I know this because, not so much because when I was growing up he was listening to them. Actually, it really wasn't that much. But when I was 19, I went to study English in Oxford, in England. And my parents obviously came to visit for a few days. And one of those days we took the train and went to Liverpool, just so he could go to a museum and kind of walk the streets that where the Beatles were born. Something that I've come to know only recently is that while I live in Dorset, in Poole in Dorset, something I didn't know is that John Lennon, really famous Beatles band member, took his aunt to visit Swanage and Poole, and there is actually a photo of John Lennon with his aunt Mimi arriving in Poole on the ferry from Swanage. Apparently they loved Dorset, and so he visited there. That's all I knew, only until a few months ago, when I actually found out that back then he bought a house for his aunt Mimi, who he loved dearly, and he bought a house for her in Poole, in Sandbanks, to avoid the fans. Basically, obviously, he was already very famous, and his aunt Mimi must have been tormented by the fans, and so he bought her a house in Sandbanks. The house no longer belongs to the Lennon family. Well, obviously, he passed away, and his aunt Mimi lived until the 90s in that house. When she passed away, the house was sold, I believe, another couple of times since then. The house is still very much there. It's now called Imagine. And Molly and I have spotted it in a few of our drives around Sandbanks. And we never seen inside the gates. We tried a few times, but we never actually seen inside the gates. We have seen, however, the gates and obviously the name of the house. This is a fun fact about, obviously, John Lennon, but John Lennon was also a really big animal lover. I think this is quite known about him. He really loved cats. Apparently cats were his thing. However, he really loved dogs too. From my researches, John Lennon actually adopted a few dogs in his life. One was called Sally, who was the first dog he ever had, and that was from his childhood. During his marriage with his first wife, Cynthia, they adopted a dog called Bobby. Then when he lived with Yoko Ono, they had a dog called Bernard. In his later years, he had Dutch hounds, so clearly loved those little dogs, maybe closer to a cat size in that respect. The name of this little other dog was called Sirius. And in 1964, John Lennon wrote a poem for a dog called Nigel. So there are some people that think that John Lennon had a dog called Nigel. Some people don't believe that he did have a dog called Nigel, so I actually don't know how to really fact check this one. But there is definitely a poem called Good Dog Nigel. So I believe that he chose to believe that he did have a dog called Nigel, and he dedicated this poem to the dog. So this is the poem that he wrote. Arf arf he goes, a merry sight, our little hairy friend, arf arf upon the lamppost bright, arfing around the bend. Nice dog, good boy, waggy tail and beg, clever Nigel, jump for joy, because we're putting you to sleep at 3 o'clock, Nigel. Another member of the Beatles that loved the dog, well, he possibly still is Paul McCartney. He, in fact, had a dog called Martha. And apparently, there are some stories that say some people had seen pictures of John Lennon with the dog Martha, and they thought that actually John Lennon was Martha's guardian, but it was actually Paul McCartney. There is a song that Paul McCartney wrote called Martha, My Dear. The story goes that the song is written as if he was dedicating the song to the dog Martha, but it was mysteriously, or I don't know, kind of romantically maybe, written for his ex-partner, Jane Asher. Martha was a gorgeous sheepdog, and I love that breed. It's so fluffy and so cute and so sweet. I can understand why we want to dedicate a song to Martha, such a beautiful dog, and it can be used as well as a dedication to someone you love anyway. Ringo Starr is another supermassive animal lover. Apparently, he likes frogs and cats, but also dogs. He had many dogs in his life, and many cats too. I think at the moment he has like 9 or 10 cats and dogs as well. I believe, well, the internet says that he has a poodle, and that's the one at the moment. But in his life, he had many dogs. So apparently, in the 60s, Ringo Starr had 2 or 3 dogs, all Airedales Terrier. Their names were Daisy and Donovan. At some point, there is also been talk that we might have bred from them and then kept one of the puppies and called him Tiger. But again, this could be the internet messing around a little bit. He then had Buster and Month. Story goes, or the legend goes, that Buster really loved music and he used to sit under Ringo Starr's drums while he played, which is really cute. He did have, like I said, many other dogs, Basset Hound, poodles, and other breeds. Great dog lover. And then we have the late George Harrison as well. I'm a bit embarrassed to say that he's probably the Beatles that I know the least, but he's also a big animal lover, or he was also a big animal lover. He also had many dogs in his life. There was Winston, a Yorkshire Terrier in the 60s. There was Shep, a Border Collie. In fact, Shep was a gift that George Harrison gave to his first wife. There was Proofy as well, which is a very cute name. I might think about that for my next dog, or maybe not. And apparently, George Harrison dedicated a song to Eric Clapton's dog called Jeep, and the song was I Remember Jeep. And Eric Clapton and George Harrison were very good friends, and so he dedicated a song to Jeep, the dog, which is really cute. It is also my understanding that George Harrison was quite spiritual, and he felt that the connection that he had with dogs and with animals in general really helped him with his spirituality and possibly his mental health. So that's it. Those are all the connection that I have between dogs and Beatles, and finally my dad, and possibly many of you as well. I know, not very kids around dogs related, but in a way, in this situation, I am the kid and is a gift to my own father. So happy Father's Day. Bye.